Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. On the weekly time frame, Solana broke out mid-August, and what we are currently experiencing is a retest of the weekly breakout. At this point is where we need to pay attention. In this video, I'm gonna do an in-depth analysis on Solana, including news, liquidity pools. I'm gonna compare it with the performance of Ethereum, and not just against Ethereum. This time, I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna compare it against all the other coins from the point of view of distribution, wealth versus retail, order book allocation. It's gonna be really interesting. Guys, if you wanna trade Solana on a great exchange, consider Tubi. This exchange has been built by the same people of Bybit. That's why it's so easy to use. You spend only 2 minutes to sign up, deposit crypto, and start trading. You get to choose whether you wanna do KYC or not. You get access to leverage, and as soon as you sign up, they give you $50 for free. Of course, if you deposit, you can get a chunk of the 30,000 bonuses available. In order to get that, make sure that you use the link in the description. Let's get started. So I'm going to start with the weekly time frame on the RSI, and as you can see in here, Solana has had a very painful period with a breakout that started in September in 2024. Since then, the breakout failed to do something significant, and instead of carrying on to the upside, it put new lows at RSIs of 36. From there, we have had already multiple breakouts that we can start considering. The first one should be around April in 2025. Then we got another one in here, and what we are having in here is a global breakout that started and got confirmed around mid-August. Since then, we have managed to reach an RSI of 66, and profit taking ongoing at the moment, coming back down into 55. Very close to a perfect retest of the breakout. Of course, we never want to go that low as getting into 53. Ideally, I will have liked to just hold around the 60s, but hey, the support of this breakout is coming in around 50, so we got all this move down of range to still do to defend the global support. If you want to get more peaky and you place a support like this, you could say that we had a breakdown here in a local context, so not everything has been bulletproof for the rally on Solana. Some momentum has been lost, but I think into October and November we should be seeing some upside for Solana. When it comes to the price action, the worst elephant in the room at the moment for me is that after we collapse almost 70% from the highs, we are doing this kind of rally against this particular trend line, and you can see how the confluence of the ascending one with the horizontal that I'm tracking since the previous cycle has held the price, and it's been the first decent resistance in here coming in. And why is that? Well, we took a lot of liquidity. You can see it in here on the daily time frame. The red is at 223, but we carry on consuming some of the yellow. Once we lost the yellow, we started with the green, and the incentive to put higher highs came back down with a bearish divergence, and then we got a breakdown. This flash with a lower low in the momentum in here could signify that this is a hidden divergence bullish on the daily time frame, and that could signal continuation. What is our incentive to go into this area? Is not that much from the point of view of liquidity pools, at least when it comes with 260, but we cannot see, but there is a chunk here left over at $300. High Block Capital is not going to show you, Trading Different is not going to show it to you because it's far in the distance, but I'm pretty sure that that's the largest one just because of all the shorts that enter in here, and now the price is coming up to chase them. So what I would like is $200 to hold, because that is the golden pocket. We already achieved it. It will be really nice if we can hold. The last line in the sand for me is if we go below $150. That is too deep of a correction in my opinion, but if we go there, there's still chances of recovering. It's just that the chances are slimmer than if we now defend $200. We get a higher chance of continuation straight up without any stops. Looking at the heat map on CoinGlass, specifically the last 3 months, you can see why this has come in here to take some of the liquidity. If we wanted to go slightly lower, 182 is right there. Going into 150 is too deep of a correction in my opinion, because it's taking previous lows and breaking fully the structure. This low in here still is not much of a damage. Looking at Ethereum against Solana, you can see in here why Solana started gaining momentum against Ethereum. Remember that the Ethereum dominance has been coming down towards the 12% after hitting, I think, 15. While Ethereum was rallying, Solana was making this breakdown in here, and it managed to get to 31 RSI, very similar to the level of 31 that we had in June in 2023. We are talking about RSIs of bear market for Solana in here, and that's why it's getting bought up against Ethereum and is pushing now into the resistance of 55. That is currently located at a price against Ethereum of 0.06. That coincides with this neckline, so we need to really reclaim that neckline if we want Solana to have a rally against Ethereum to the upside. In my opinion, humble opinion only, Ethereum first needs to do another rally, and that's gonna allow Solana to have its own rally. Typically in a cycle, if this is your first cycle, things go by market cap. So once Ethereum finds its top, then people's head move towards the next market cap and they try to time another top for the next one down the line. And that is the point where I feel like Solana needs to take these highs against Ethereum and start a strong rally. At that point, probably we will have taken already the $300 of liquidity pool. Now, looking at the longs versus shorts, you can see how Solana is landing in here into an area of interest. It's further away from the percentiles where we should be looking for longs, but I am not expecting Solana during the bull market to go into 9 and then recover and remain in a bull market. Those levels are reserved for January 2023, June 2022. That's bear market Solana. Recently, we put a new higher high against all-time highs in terms of accumulations of longs, and you can see how they are getting squashed into an area of value relative to the value that there was in here. Obviously, this is much better. No guarantees that we are going to hold at 57, but it's much better entry as similar to the one that we have in March 2025 on the 24th. Starting to gain some momentum in here in terms of social dominance against other coins, but not by a lot. We are still far away from the recent peak in January 2025 of 16%. So if we made a new higher high in here 17, that's really going to be around the time where Solana really peaks. Now, looking at Solana relative to all the other altcoins, not all of them, but the major ones, you can see in here Solana is at the low end in this XY axis. Why is that? Why Solana is so far away from the rest? What sort of alpha are we finding in here? Looking at the Y axis, you can see bid-ask ratio 5%, and that is putting Solana at a lower level of bid versus ask. That means that the support at the moment on Solana is still not very strong, and indeed it seems to be the lowest against all the other ones. So what are people expecting at the moment with Solana that they are not defending it that well? It could be that it's reaching a level of resistance, and at the moment the ratio is leaning more towards the defense, the ask liquidity, maybe the neckline in between. Let me go to Solana. Maybe between here to 11 and the neckline of 230, there is a lot of ask. That could be the case, and it's located around the median in the X axis, and the X is whale versus retail delta. How many positions are held by whales and how many by retail? And you can see is below the median, so slightly more retail than whale at the moment. Interestingly, Uni is taking the lead with the highest amount of whale versus retail, whereas OM has the most retail ever. I suspect that is because of this flash in here. In terms of CryptoQuant information, before we go into the news on Solana, we have still futures volume bubble map in the hitting. Remember, in our past video, we were talking about the largest bubbles of futures at the moment in the history of Solana, and since then we have had some retracement. If we focus on this area, you can see that we have cooled down a little bit, now back into the pink. Still in the bubble area, but it's nice to see that we are no longer in the full red. That is a red warning. Of course, futures is still in the taker sell dominant. I suspect that this is tracking the price action of the weekend as well, because the weekend, remember, it was bearish. We lost support on Bitcoin, on Solana, on everything, and now we are reclaiming it. So let's see if that is an actual capitulation event or if Solana is going to manage to start a rally into October and November. In terms of news, we got an 8 out of 10, 2 8 out of 10, and 1 3 out of 10, which is bearish. Let's have a look with the first one. Jumps Fire Dancer team proposes uncapping Solana blocks after Alpenglow. Throughput and scalability upgrade path proposal to remove block caps post Alpenglow signals higher capacity and lower congestion risk. Strengthening the Solana equals high performance. So that's bullish. Then we have analysts on the ETFs, could be weeks away. Obviously, everybody's looking forward for a near-term US spot ETF. And then we have the Well CMJI deposits 250,000 Solana. That's about 52 million to multiple exchanges over the 48 hours. Large exchange inflows can precede sell pressure and add near-term volatility. Since this was published on the 29th, that is today, it could be the case that the finger is now in the trigger for some resistance. And as you can see, the deviation of 0 to 5% at the moment has some resistance in there. So people are defending the breakout, but that is also the case with Bitcoin. As we saw in the previous video, there was a lot of resistance at 112. Let's do a quick summary on the weekly time frame. Things are looking like this is a healthy retracement to take out excessive longs, not just excessive, but the highest accumulation of longs in history of Solana just happened recently, and we are flashing them into finding what's gonna be the actual support. Support could be the most bullish one around 57, or we could retrace into the descending trend line at 52, or the last line in descent is about 51. 51 is currently at $189. If you are very bullish on Solana, of course, I want to mention the extreme targets, considering that we have higher highs in here. That's the bullish side of Solana, and we do an extension from this low that gives us an extension of one of 383 and a golden pocket of $560. Of course, that is if we manage to break above this current resistance of 240 that send us back down already into 190. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.